Since 2003, this is the Sports Source, East Tennessee's #1 sports talk show.
Presented by Junk Be Gone, Phoenix Conversions.
With your host, John Pennington. The Sports Source starts now.
Good Sunday morning. Welcome into the Sports Source. Happy to have you with us. Thank you during these crazy times for joining us. We got a lot to talk about today. Tons of Tennessee news. And let me go ahead and show you what we got on today's show. We got UT's draft numbers from yesterday. We got the best landing spots for the draftees and the undrafted guys. We'll update you on all those fellas. Athletic directors around the country, they believe that there will be football this fall. Hey, so optimism. We'll talk about that. Will it be possible to get fans in the stadiums, though, if you still have to do social distancing? UT recruiting update, 2021 NFL draft prospects off the Tennessee roster. What's the best UT defensive performance we've ever seen? We're doing the Hindsight 2020 every week. That'll be interesting. And then kind of flying under the radar yesterday, it popped up in a French newspaper that Yves Pons has declared for the NBA draft. So we'll discuss that as well. Lots to talk about on today's show. This first segment, and it's a little different today, we're going to tell you about each and every one of our clients because the governor's changing the rules. The city and county are still debating how to open it up. We're going to update you on all these clients right from the get-go. So first of all, Junk Be Gone brings you this segment. They are open for business right now. CDC guidelines being followed. Call 865-675-JUNK for more information. That is a contact-free sport in terms of Junk Be Gone. I use them every year. And as I'm going to tell you with all of these clients, all of these companies, feel free to check their website, their Facebook page for more updated information because my guess is things are going to continue to change as we eke toward May 1st and see city open, county open, when do they open, how do they open, all that stuff's changing. But we're going to tell you about all of our clients. And let me just say this very quickly. We've been doing this. We're going into our 18th football season this year. This show was created to kind of be a family. It's almost like a co-op. The sponsors take care of me, you take care of the sponsors, and we all get along together. These clients right now, some of them are paying for bigger packages with more live ads, and even right now during this time of trouble, they're saying, go ahead, take more of my time, give it to somebody else, let's share it, let's get everybody mentioned. These are good people. I'm very proud of the people that are on this show, and I just want you to know what kind of people you're dealing with here. They're very much in an all-for-one, one-for-all mode, and I love them for it. You can support them, and I'd appreciate it. All right, let's welcome in the two guys I love on camera right now, and I love Chuck over there. We got Jimmy Hyams from WNML. You can hear him Monday through Friday. You guys are doing an incredible job. Monday through Friday on Sports Talk from 3 to 7. The interviews are just outstanding.
Thank you.
So, Jimmy Hyams. And right there, you can read Ryan Callahan at GoVols247.com. Covers recruiting, covers a lot of stuff for them. Good website. So, Ryan, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
All right. It was another quiet draft day for Tennessee football team. 2 players selected, but that's 2 more than last year. Let's go ahead and show you who got picked. You already know this. There you go. Darrell Taylor in the second round, pick 48. I didn't think he would go in the top 50 picks. That was a little bit surprising. He has the sack numbers. Much of the talk on this show had been that he has a speed move, but does he have a second move? Apparently Pete Carroll and the Seahawks believe they can teach him one or two. And then Juwan Jennings, the only other Vol drafted, he had to wait to the 7th round, pick 217. He goes to the San Francisco 49ers. Now, when we do the next segment, we're going to talk about each of these guys' landing spots and how we think they're going to fit with those teams, or did they land in good spots. But right now, just your thought on 2 guys drafted. Is that more or less about what you expected? Where are you?
I thought they'd have one more, and I was wrong about Daniel Batuli. I didn't realize the significance of the medical situation with his knees that I was told by somebody that's very close to him. And so as they kept sliding, I kept saying, what about Batuli? And they said, no, he's been flagged for the knees. But I thought there was a chance for Callaway. Didn't think much on Dominic Wood-Anderson. I thought there was a long shot for Warrior, but I actually thought there would be a third, not 2.
Going into the draft this week, I did think there would only be 2, but I thought Marquez Callaway would seem like the third that was maybe the closest to me. But months ago, I thought there was a chance for more than 2. So when you look back on it, maybe around the end of the season, start of the offseason, that's maybe a little bit of a disappointment to only end up with 2 from what's a pretty solid senior class when you look at guys like Batuli, Warrior, and Callaway that made a lot of big plays for this team. So not a bad day overall for Tennessee, but still, you kind of thought a few months ago there might be more than 2.
Yeah, especially the way Nigel Warrior finished. I mean, the guy was first team All SEC. Your first team in the SEC, and we'll get into the SEC's numbers a little later in the show. You're doing some pretty good stuff there to be recognized, and for him not to get picked, that was the one I thought would slide in there. I really thought somebody would take a shot simply because the SEC thing, what the coaches viewed with him, getting that honor. Didn't happen, although we'll discuss it, but I think he landed in a pretty good spot. The Daniel Batuli thing, his knee is such an issue that as of this morning, as of about an hour ago, he still hasn't signed an undrafted deal. He's probably looking for the exact right spot, but those knees are bad enough, both knees, bad enough that it's slowed down teams to even sign him as a free agent.
Makes me wonder how in the world he led the team in tackles.
Yeah, exactly.
And I know he missed the first two games this past season because he had his knee, a knee scoped. As far as I know, it's only one. But he came back and he played really well. So I was a little bit surprised that he was that effective given his knees were so bad. And with Nigel Warrior, I thought the last 8 or so games, I thought against Georgia he played extremely well, and he carried that the rest of the season. And I thought just based on looking at his ceiling, his upside, the way he played, I thought there's a pretty good chance he would be taken. You make first team All SEC, you got a pretty good chance to be drafted, right?
And while he and his father don't have much of a relationship at all, there's still the, as you saw on ESPN's broadcast over and over and over again with every player who's selected, it's like his great-grandmother played on the 1928 Tiddlywinks team. Okay, we don't care. But the bloodlines matter. I mean, so if you've got a father or a brother or an uncle that played in the NFL, I would think that would have carried something too. So I was a little surprised Warrior didn't get taken, but we'll get into those guys in the next segment and tell you where they all landed. Let me show you something. We do this every year. We've been doing it for 10 years now. It's a way of charting UT's draft success. So instead of, if you're looking at a stock, you don't look at it day to day or hour to hour. Well, you may, but that's not the way to keep your heart calm. Everything's too up and down. So what I do, you look at it over weeks, months, years. That's what we do here. Each of these is a 4-year class. This starts in 1990, so that far left orange line, that's how many people Tennessee had drafted from 1990 through 1993. 4-year class, they had 17. That went all the way up to 32 players drafted between 2001 and 2004. So that's basically that 98 to 2001 team. From 01 to 04, they are drafted 32. Then you see as soon as that group passes, it starts to fall off. And it falls desperately. It jumps again while Butch Jones was here. Then he fell off a cliff, literally. And you've got a little, it has slowed. The decline has slowed. You had 6 4 years ago, 3, none last year, 2 this year. My question is, have you hit rock bottom, or are you going to start going back up with Jeremy Pruitt? Ryan Cowling.
I think they have hit rock bottom there. I think they're on the way up with that. Now, is it in a big way? Are we going to see big numbers on a regular basis like we've seen from other SEC teams? Probably not yet. I think they've still got a ways to go before they can get to that point. But you should at least start seeing a couple, 3 players drafted on a yearly basis from this point forward, I think, with where Tennessee's been headed.
I agree, in part because I think that this is a staff, and I think Pruitt's really good at evaluating players and developing. I think that, and there were one graph there that showed where Tennessee had spiked up in the number of draftees. I think that was just because they drafted some really talented players.
Recruited, yeah.
And recruiting. But I think that they will not only get good players in here with good evaluation, they're also going to improve them. You saw Nigel Warrior get a lot better, right? So I think the combination of those two, Tennessee is headed in the right direction as far as the draft.
And I also wonder, and I know people, whether it was Butch Jones monkeying around with his strength and conditioning staff or not, some of those injuries were, a concussion is not going to be due to a strength and conditioning coach. But they had 2 years where they were the most injured team in America. You haven't seen that with Jeremy Pruitt. Now, we joke on here that occasionally he may be just rub some dirt on that and sew your arm back on and get out there. But I think that also is going to help Tennessee's numbers a little bit, that you aren't seeing guys say, oh, I pulled a hamstring, I better sit for 6 games. So that may impact the way guys are drafted, because that, if you're not seeing guys on the field in college, you're not going to take a chance on them sitting in your hot tub in the NFL as well.
Jimmy sort of touched on one thing I wanted to mention. I think this draft is a reminder that this is all a numbers and measurables game, and there were things about Marquez Callaway, Nigel Warrior, even Daniel Batuli to some degree maybe, that we thought all along maybe they weren't elite at their position for speed or something else. And I think that sort of is reflected in the results here. Obviously, Jauan Jennings, a good player, but that 4.7 40 and not huge hands, things like that matter to NFL teams, and that's what you saw reflected in the results for those guys.
I think Jennings also, it depended on who was looking at. I guarantee you had some people that looked at him and said, man, that attitude, he'll fight anybody. And that's what the Niners said yesterday. I bet there were some people that looked at that and said, he could fight anybody.
Well,
and you saw it at UT a couple of times where the emotion got too much of him. I think that probably cut down on some of the teams that were going to draft him, simply the psychological side of Jauan Jennings, which, if you get the good side, he will run through a brick wall for you.
And in a historically deep receiver class, something like that can matter because a team might look and say, why take this guy when this other one is pretty comparable? We can just take another guy and not have to deal with it.
I think he was the 34th receiver taken. That's pretty deep. I really thought Green Bay was going to jump on him.
Well, the Pro Football Focus had them take him in the first round in their first mock draft. Yeah.
I didn't think that, but I did think Green Bay was going to take him and try to give some help to Aaron Rodgers in particular after they took a quarterback in the first round.
I was hoping my Patriots were going to take him there late. I know Bob Hodge of the Vikings had 3 picks and 5 in a little stretch there, and he was hoping that it was Jauan Jennings. No such luck. I think, well, we'll talk about where he landed with the 49ers. I think they got a good player. But did he get a good landing spot? We'll discuss that next. But let me tell you, another one of our sponsors is Games and Things. And right now, they are planning to reopen Friday, May 1st. That is the plan. More is going to come from the city and the county, obviously. But May 1st is the idea. But even up until now, up until then, I should say, you can still visit ourgameroom.com and then set up an appointment. So they're doing sales by appointment. You can go by and meet with them one at a time, but go to their website and check that out. And, of course, they'll have more information about their specific plans and a lockdown open date as that becomes available. Games and Things. All right, as I mentioned, when we come back, we're going to talk about the landing spots for all of Tennessee's draftees and the undrafted guys, where they sign. That's all next. Come on back.